Crying is beautiful, but I bet you don't feel beautiful when you cry, do you? And you know why that is? You know. It's because when you were a kid, you felt ashamed, and other people encouraged you to feel ashamed for crying. And that really sucks because sadness is a valid emotion like all the other ones. And crying is the way to express that, just like laughter is one way to express happiness. Have you ever seen people that hardly laugh or never laugh? They're kind of a drag, aren't they? Well, on another level, especially if you're sensitive enough to feel it, people who never cry are equally a drag. And that's just because there's a blockage in their system. And that blockage is held in place by shame. And that shame is held in place by ego. Why don't you want to cry? Because your ego doesn't want to admit to having sadness? Okay. Because you feel weak? You feel like a baby? A lot of why we don't want to cry is down to being called a baby when we were a kid and not wanting to be called a baby. But as I've said before, do children hate babies? Do you hate babies? I mean, people use this term, you're a baby, don't be a baby. Oh, what a baby. And then they turn around, if they see a baby, they're like, ooh, look at the cute little baby. Right? Okay, nobody hates babies. So why is everybody trying not to be a baby? Babies are the cutest damn thing in the world, and you're trying not to be one. Why? Why even bother? Another thing is that because everybody's holding in their tears most of the time, there's like a taboo about crying because your tears will make somebody else uncomfortable. When I was 4 or 5 years old, my dad told me he was leaving us forever. And I suppressed my tears. And it messed me up. I don't really remember it very well, but everybody said I barely spoke for a year after that. My mom delayed sending me to kindergarten, which ended up being a really good thing. Instead of being one of the youngest in the class, I was one of the oldest, so that works out well, actually. Sorry for the background noise. I have 3 cats running around. I'm cat sitting and have my little kitten. So there can be background chaos. If you wonder what that is, it's just cats running around fighting and playing and having a good old time. But anyway, so people don't want to be set off. People are really stuck in this realm. One thing that interesting that happened to me, and I realized, well, let me start by saying, in my healing work, it is one of the highest honors for me to hold space for my clients so that they can express their sadness through crying. And a lot of people, when they have a session with me, they'll be shocked to find themselves in tears in the first few minutes of the session. Not everybody, don't worry. You could work with me and be laughing the whole time too, okay? But the thing is, I go directly to the root of the pain as much as I possibly can. And so sometimes just asking a question like, what's your issue with your mom? What's your issue with love? What's your issue with rejection? Or any kind of question that comes up intuitively and the person just starts crying. And a few years ago, as I was getting better at this healing and personal transformation thing, I was noticing so many clients crying in the first 5 minutes of their session and really being blown away by it. Like, I haven't cried in 10 years. What the hell is this? And then what happened is I was sitting on the subway in New York. I used to live there. Now I'm in LA. But I was sitting in the subway one day and there was a woman sitting right in front of me. And, I was looking at my phone, whatever, and then I looked back up and she was in tears. That happens every now and then, you see it. But within the next couple of weeks, it happened 2 more times. The person sitting straight in front of me all of a sudden was in tears. And, hey, I'll never know if I had anything to do with it, but my theory, based on what was happening in my sessions as well, is that there was something in my energy that held space for that. And literally, people were coming into that energy, unbeknownst to them, and releasing those tears. A decade ago, I went through a difficult breakup, and the tears just started flowing. Also, because I was dealing with this daddy leaving issue quite intensely at the time, and it was an amazing thing. I will never quit being grateful for that healing opportunity, because right away I made the decision, like instantly, I am not going to hold back one single tear. And I was a mess for a couple weeks. I was like walking down the streets of New York, just like start bawling out of nowhere. And I didn't hold it back one bit, and all the shame, all the embarrassment that I normally would have felt just turned into pride, if anything. I mean, not like I'm so proud of walking down the street crying, like it's a huge achievement. But for me, it was a big achievement. Because it was taking this lifelong thing that started with this core heartbreak at age 4 or 5. And then where I shut down and didn't get sent to school right away. And it turned to the opposite, where the moment I felt like crying, I just did. And then it cleared. That the tears that I was crying were actually the tears that I held back when I was a child. That was primarily the tears that I was crying. That's why it was so intense. And the thing is, if you tap in to the beauty of just expressing that sadness, that grief. One thing that happened with that is that I cried in front of my daughters, and it made them show me so much love. And they were really there for me. in a way that, I've been able to be there for them, obviously, or maybe not that obviously. And I was proud to show my so-called weakness to them and to everybody. Because to me, it's kind of the ultimate strength to be able to show your vulnerability, to be able to show that you do have feelings, you do have a heart. And also to do it in a way where you're taking care of yourself. And you're not just doing it to get attention or to get something from anybody. You're just in the purity of the expression. So your tears are precious and beautiful. And when they want to come out, let them come out. And find the beauty in crying just as much as in laughing or anything else, because all of your emotions at their core are beautiful. It's part of being human and part of loving yourself, which is so important, means loving whatever you feel. Now, there are authentic emotions and there are inauthentic emotions. And when I say inauthentic emotion, what I mean is a conditioned response emotion, an emotion that comes usually from avoiding another emotion. For example, if you avoid your sadness, you might have inauthentic anger. And it doesn't mean that you're not angry. It means that you dammed up one avenue of emotional expression and it started overflowing into other things. And so a lot of my work is around clearing the inauthentic emotions, but even those need to be felt. So please, love your tears, love your sadness, because, final point, they come from your inner child who is still with you and begging to be fully reunited with you. You rejected that inner child at many points of your life. And now it's time to reunite with it. But if you are rejecting your tears, you're a mutant. You're mutating. You're making yourself something that you're not. You are not a fully expressed human being if you can't laugh, if you can't cry, if you can't feel the whole range of human emotion, because you have certain things that are forbidden by your culture, by whatever. Now, I'm not saying there aren't people that are a total pain in the ass that are like whining and crying all the time. Believe me, there are. Okay? But that's usually because they don't go deeply into it enough. It's like they let off a little steam of the emotion, but they don't really go to the core of it. So they keep releasing steam all the time, but they never release the main part of it. You'll see that a lot in New Age, for lack of a better word, or healing seminars. I have a friend who says, these seminars, which believe me, I've attended, a lot of, and teach also, but that there are certain people that just go to these seminars so they can hug and cry. And hugging and crying are both absolutely fine. But there are people who just go into this mode of, okay, now I'm here, now I'm going to hug and cry, and I'm going to, bond with people on this seemingly very deep level, but I'm not really getting to the root of anything. I'm not really transforming anything. I'm going to a safe space where I can do this, and that's a beautiful thing. And I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying keep going. If you're in that mode, that new agey mode of like get together and delve into all the things that make you cry and then cry and hug each other, okay, good. I'm glad you made it to that level. Okay, I'm not saying stop it. I'm saying go deeper. Go farther. There are times when you need to realize that your tears are repetitive and they're not releasing from a deep enough level, where you actually kind of need to hold them in and go down a few levels energetically, go deeper into your heart, and then cry from there. That's something that you might need somebody to walk you through. I do that for a living as one of the things that I do, as part of what I do. And you can always reach out to me for a session in person or by phone, or to anybody else who gets this work. Okay, but just to go back to the beginning, your tears are beautiful. Crying is beautiful. Forgive yourself. You're not a baby, but a lot of the baby qualities are actually where you want to be. Your baby, when you were a baby, that was your true self. It's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing. Embrace it. Thank you so much for watching. And I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment right now to like this video if you've watched it this far, to hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications, and leave a comment. It really helps me grow this channel and get the word out. So I would really appreciate it if you'd do that. Thank you very much. For more information on my work, just go to andysway.com. Have a great day, and remember to cry when it's time to do that. Thank you.